Think about the last game you were obsessed with. The one you installed on day one, played for 2 weeks straight, and then completely forgot existed. Now think about Counter-Strike. It came out in 2000. It's 2026. It's still in the top 5 most played games on Steam every single day. Or Minecraft, released in 2011, still selling millions of copies a year, still on the front page of YouTube. Here's the thing, those games aren't necessarily better. There are objectively more polished, better funded, more visually impressive games that are completely dead right now. Games that had huge launches, massive marketing budgets, and millions of players on day one. So what actually determines whether a game survives? It's not quality, it's not budget, and it's not even the size of the audience at launch. There's a specific thing that separates games that last from games that don't. And once you see it, you'll look at every new release differently. Let's get the obvious answers out of the way, because honestly, they sound right, but they're not. Games die because they have bad content updates. Seriously? Okay, but Among Us had almost no updates for 2 years. It still came back and hit 500 million players. Games die because they lose their player base. That's circular, right? Why do they lose the player base? That's the actual question. Games survive because they're just good. Anthem was built by BioWare, one of the most respected studios in the world, with a reported budget of over $100 million. It was dead within 6 months. Meanwhile, Dwarf Fortress, a game with no graphics, literally ASCII characters, has been alive since 2006 and still has an active community today. Quality clearly isn't the deciding factor. So, what is? Here's the idea I want you to sit with. A game survives as long as it keeps giving the player an unanswered question. Not a story question. Not a what happens next cliffhanger. A question about themselves. Something like, how good can I actually get at this? Can I beat this specific person? What happens if I build it this way? The moment a player feels like they've answered all the questions the game has for them, they leave, and they don't come back. And this plays out in 3 very different ways. 3 mechanisms that keep that question alive. Mechanism 1, the ceiling you can never reach. Some games are designed so that no matter how good you get, there's always someone better. Always another level. Always something you haven't mastered yet. Counter-Strike has been played at the highest competitive level for over 2 decades, and pro players are still finding new things. New smokes, new angles, new timings. The ceiling is so high that essentially no one ever reaches it. This is why purely single-player games are structurally at a disadvantage for long-term survival. Once you finish the story, once you've seen every room, beat every boss, the ceiling is visible. You touched it. The question is answered. Games like Dark Souls have partially solved this through community. Speedrunning, challenge runs, helping other players. But that's actually the second mechanism. The test for this one, after 1,000 hours in this game, is there still something you're trying to figure out about your own skill? If yes, the ceiling is working. If no, the clock is ticking. Mechanism 2, the social anchor. This one is probably the most underestimated. At some point, players stop playing a game and start going somewhere. The game becomes a place where specific people exist. Think about World of Warcraft at its peak. Millions of people weren't logging in because the quests were good. They were logging in because their guild was there. Their friends were there. Relationships existed inside that world. When the game becomes a social infrastructure, leaving it means leaving people, not just a product. And that's a completely different kind of loyalty. This is the entire explanation for Among Us. The game came out in 2018. Basically, nobody played it. Then, in 2020, during lockdowns, streamers started playing it together on stream, and overnight it became a cultural event. The game didn't change. The social layer activated. And honestly, that's why Among Us is still around, while games with objectively better mechanics released in the same period are completely gone.
The test. If your 5 closest gaming friends all quit this game tomorrow, would you still log in? If the answer is no, the
The social anchor is the only thing holding you there. Mechanism 3. The shifting world. The third mechanism is the most expensive to build and the most powerful when it works. Some games are designed so that the world inside them never stops changing. Not just new content drops, the fundamental state of the game shifts, so that knowledge you had 6 months ago is partially obsolete now. League of Legends does this better than almost anyone. Every major patch changes champion balance, item systems, map objectives. Players who were masters of the game in Season 5 would struggle to recognize it in Season 14. The meta shifts so dramatically that you're essentially learning a new layer of the game every few months. Fortnite uses this too, but in a more literal way. The map physically changes. Locations disappear, new ones appear. Entire seasons alter the visual and mechanical identity of the game. What this mechanism does is prevent the player from ever fully solving the game. Just when you think you understand it, the ground moves. The test. Can someone who hasn't played in a year come back and immediately be competitive? If yes, the world isn't shifting enough. If no, the mechanism is working. Now, flip all three mechanisms, and you have a perfect description of why games die. The ceiling is visible. The game has a solved state. You've seen everything, beaten everything, mastered the mechanics, and there's nothing left to discover about yourself inside it. No social layer. You play alone, you leave alone. There's no community infrastructure. No reason that leaving the game means leaving people. Static world. The game is the same on day 400 as it was on day 1. No shifting meta, no environmental changes, no reason to come back after a break. Anthem had all three problems simultaneously. No competitive ceiling. The end game was a loot loop that players solved quickly. No social infrastructure. It was loosely co-op, but designed around solo experience. And the world never meaningfully shifted. Patches were slow, and the meta didn't evolve. $100 million. Dead in 6 months. Meanwhile, Minecraft costs $30, has near zero mandatory social features, and has survived 13 years. Because every single world is a new, unanswered question. What will I build this time? Can I survive this seed? What if I try a completely different approach? The question never runs out. So next time a new game drops with massive hype, before you buy in, ask yourself 3 things. Is there a ceiling I can spend years trying to reach? Is there a community that will exist inside this game? Is this world going to look different in 6 months than it does today? If the answer to all 3 is no, enjoy it. It'll probably be a great 2 weeks. But honestly, don't expect it to still be in your library in 5 years.